There are days in the year that pass like any other, and there are days when heaven draws near in a special way, as if an invisible door were about to open. Here's what most people don't realize. January 1st isn't just another page on the calendar. While everyone's making resolutions and talking about fresh starts, something deeper is happening, something most folks completely miss. The Church proclaims a profound truth on this day. Mary is the Mother of God, and when that mystery is remembered, when that truth is spoken, a special grace descends. A grace meant to renew your heart, your mind, your very soul. But Padre Pio knew something he tried to tell people over and over again. There's one thing that blocks that grace from entering, something that shuts the door from the inside. And here's the kicker. It's not what you think. It's not a sin you committed. It's not some terrible mistake. It's something quieter, something that lives in your bedroom in those moments right before sleep finds you. If this message is already resonating with you, write in the comments, "Mary, open my heart." Your words help this message reach more people who desperately need to hear it. Listen carefully. January 1st carries a rare gift, a grace designed specifically for those who want to begin the year with peace, with protection, with divine direction. But if this one feeling is sitting in your room tonight, if it's there on your pillow when you close your eyes, that grace can't find a way in. Even if God wants to pour it out, even if heaven is ready to move, there's no space for it to land. It just sits there waiting, knocking, but the door stays closed. And Padre Pio understood this better than almost anyone. He knew what keeps people stuck in the same patterns year after year. He knew what makes the heart close up even when it desperately wants to open. He knew that before we can receive anything from God, we have to let go of something first. Something we've been holding on to so tightly that our hands are cramped and our souls are exhausted. So why does January 1st matter so much? What makes this particular day different from any other? When the Church declares that Mary is the Mother of God, something shifts in the spiritual atmosphere. It's not just an old tradition or a way to honor someone we admire. It's a proclamation of the moment that changed human history. Think about it for a second. God, the creator of everything, chose to enter this world through a human being. Not through power, not through force, not through some dramatic display that would make everyone fall to their knees. Through a young woman's simple yes. That's the secret hiding in plain sight. That's what January 1st is really about. Openness, making space, saying yes even when nothing makes sense, even when you don't feel ready, even when every part of you is screaming that you're not qualified. Mary wasn't chosen because she was perfect. She was chosen because she was available. She didn't have all the answers mapped out. She didn't understand how everything would work, but she trusted. And that trust created a doorway, a place where heaven could touch earth, a moment where the impossible became possible because one person was willing to stop resisting and start receiving. Now here's where it gets personal, where it connects to your life right now. January 1st carries that same energy, that same possibility. There's this invisible door between heaven and earth that swings open a little wider on this day. The grace flowing through is meant for real renewal, not the superficial kind that comes from writing down goals or promising yourself you'll do better this year. The kind that happens from the inside out. The kind that reaches the parts of you that are exhausted, the parts that have been wounded, the parts that have been carrying weight for way too long. But here's what I've noticed. Most people walk right past it. They celebrate with parties, with countdowns, with champagne and fireworks. Nothing wrong with that. But they miss the deeper current running underneath. They miss the quiet invitation being extended. They miss the chance to receive something that could actually shift their entire year, not just the first week of it. Padre Pio lived for these moments. He understood that certain days carry a particular grace, not because God plays favorites or because some days are holier than others in his eyes, but because the Church, in her ancient wisdom, creates these sacred moments. She sets them apart. She says, pay attention here, stop here, open your heart here. This matters more than you realize. And when you actually do that, when you pause and pay real attention on January 1st, something remarkable can begin. The weight you've been dragging can start to lift. The confusion can start to clear. The direction you've been searching for can begin to reveal itself. Not all at once, not like some magic trick, but like a seed being planted in good soil, like a door being unlocked after years of being stuck, like a light being turned on in a room that's been dark for longer than you want to admit. But here's the problem Padre Pio tried to warn people about. There's something that keeps that door locked tight, something that blocks the light before it can even reach you, something that prevents the grace from landing where it needs to land. And it's so common, so familiar, so ordinary that most people don't even recognize it as a problem. It's the feeling that you're not enough. That simple, that devastating. The feeling that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you're always falling short of some invisible standard, always missing the mark, always disappointing someone, including yourself. You know this feeling intimately. You've felt it pressing on your chest when you lie down at night, that heaviness that makes it hard to take a full breath, that restlessness that won't let you settle, like you're always owing something to someone, always behind on some invisible payment plan you never agreed to, like there's this checklist hanging over your head and you keep failing to complete it. It doesn't scream at you, it doesn't make grand announcements. It just sits there quiet and patient, waiting for the moment when everything gets still and you're alone with your thoughts. And that's when it strikes with full force. When the TV is off, when the phone is face down on the nightstand, when the house is quiet and you're alone in the dark, that's when it whispers its poison. You should have done more today. You could have tried harder. You're not as good as they think you are. You're going to let them down eventually. You already have, and they just don't know it yet. This feeling lives in bedrooms across the world. It lives in those sacred spaces where your body is supposed to rest, but your soul stays wide awake. Where your mind replays the day on an endless loop, picking apart every conversation, every decision, every moment where you think you failed or came up short. It drains your energy while you sleep. It steals your peace before you can even find it. It makes rest feel like work instead of refuge. And here's the worst part, the truly insidious part. This feeling convinces you that it's actually helping you. It makes you believe that if you just push yourself harder, if you just demand more from yourself, if you just never let yourself off the hook for a single moment, then maybe, just maybe, you'll finally be good enough. Maybe you'll finally deserve the blessings you see other people receiving. Maybe you'll finally earn God's attention and approval. I heard about a woman once who couldn't pray anymore. Not because she stopped believing, not because she was angry at God or had some big crisis of faith, but because every single time she tried to pray, this voice would interrupt. You haven't earned this conversation. You haven't done enough today to deserve His attention. Why would God listen to you when you can't even keep your own life together? So she stopped trying to reach out. She stopped opening that line of communication. She kept going through the motions on Sunday mornings, but the real connection was gone. The door was closed, not from God's side, from hers. That's what this feeling does when you let it take root. It builds walls brick by brick. It creates distance inch by inch. It makes you think that God only shows up for people who have their act together, for people who pray perfectly, who never mess up, who always say the right thing at the right time and make the right choice in every situation. It distorts everything you think you know about love. It takes the image of a loving father and twists it into the image of a demanding boss who's never satisfied, who's always expecting more, who's keeping a scorecard of your failures. And your bedroom becomes the battleground where this war is fought every single night. You lie there staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of everything you didn't do, everything you should have done differently, everything you failed to be for the people counting on you. Your breathing gets shallow. Your mind races from one regret to another. Your body is exhausted, but your thoughts won't stop their relentless loop because this feeling doesn't sleep. It doesn't rest. It doesn't take a night off. It just keeps going round and round, wearing you down until you barely remember what peace feels like. But here's something Padre Pio knew that changes everything. January 1st wasn't created for this torture. It wasn't designed to be just another night where you go to bed feeling inadequate and wake up feeling defeated. It was created for something completely different, for healing that goes deeper than you can imagine, for renewal that actually reaches the places where you hurt, for a fresh start that doesn't depend on your ability to be perfect, for a grace that doesn't ask you to be something you're not. It asks you to be open to becoming something new. If this message is stirring something in your heart, don't let this grace end here. The ebook, The Spiritual Secrets of St. Padre Pio, was created for those seeking to deepen their faith and walk closer to God through the teachings of this beloved mystic saint. Inside you'll find powerful prayers, profound reflections, and practical guidance for living Padre Pio's spirituality daily. You'll discover real stories of miracles and conversions that strengthen faith and bring peace. Padre Pio taught that sincere faith transforms everything. This is your invitation to take a concrete step forward. The link is pinned in the comments. And that's where Mary comes in. That's where the mystery of this day reveals something crucial that most people completely miss. Mary didn't think she was enough. Let that sink in for a moment. The woman chosen to be the Mother of God didn't walk around feeling qualified for the job. When the angel showed up with this impossible announcement, she didn't respond with confidence and certainty. She didn't say, "Yes, absolutely, I've been preparing for this my whole life, and I'm ready." She was confused. She was uncertain. She asked how it could even be possible because she knew her own limitations. She knew she was just an ordinary person living an ordinary life in a small town that nobody important ever paid attention to. But here's what she did have, and this is the key that unlocks everything. Trust, not in herself, not in her own abilities or qualifications or worthiness. In God. She didn't believe she was capable. She believed God was capable. She didn't think she was qualified for the task. She thought God could work through anyone willing to say yes. And that shift, that small but absolutely crucial shift in perspective, made all the difference. It created space where there was none before. It opened a door that had been closed. It allowed grace to flow in and do what only grace can do. The feeling of not being enough does the exact opposite. It slams that door shut and throws the deadbolt. It convinces you that God can only move in your life when you've got everything figured out. When you're strong, put together, spiritually mature, emotionally stable, financially secure, relationally healthy. It makes you believe that your weakness automatically disqualifies you from receiving anything good, that your struggles mean you're not ready for blessing, that your failures are proof you don't deserve what God wants to give you. And that's a lie, a convincing one that sounds almost reasonable, but still a lie. Because God has never, not once in all of human history, waited for perfection before moving. He's always worked through broken people, confused people, scared people, people who had absolutely no idea what they were doing, but were willing to trust him anyway. That's his pattern. That's how he operates. That's the story repeated over and over throughout Scripture and throughout the lives of every saint who ever lived. Padre Pio understood this at a level most people never reach. He used to tell people that God doesn't ask for our ability. He asks for our availability. Those words sound simple when you first hear them, but they carry enormous weight when you really think about what they mean. Because when you're lying in bed at night, when that feeling is pressing down on your chest like a physical weight, when you're replaying all the ways you fell short today, you're focused entirely on ability, on what you can or can't do, on whether you measure up to some standard, on whether you're good enough, smart enough, holy enough, strong enough to deserve God's attention. And all that focus on ability closes you off completely. It makes you think you need to fix yourself first before God can do anything with you. It creates this impossible standard that you can never quite reach, no matter how hard you try. And the more you try to reach it, the more exhausted you become. The more you push yourself, the more distant God seems. Not because God moved anywhere, because you built a wall between yourself and Him brick by brick, made entirely of self-criticism and unrealistic expectations, and the belief that you have to earn something that was always meant to be freely given. But availability is completely different. Availability just means you're willing, you're open. You're not claiming to be perfect or pretending you've got it all together, but you're not letting imperfections stop you from reaching out either. You're saying, God, I don't have much to offer, but what I do have, you can use. I don't understand how this works or how you could possibly work with someone like me, but I trust that you can make something beautiful out of this mess if you want to. That's the space where grace enters, not through perfection, through openness, not through strength, through surrender, not through having everything figured out, through admitting you don't and trusting that God can work with that raw honesty. That's the door Mary opened. That's the door available to you on January 1st. That's the door that feeling of inadequacy keeps trying to seal shut. So what does God actually want from you as this sacred day unfolds? What's He waiting for? Not perfection, not a flawless track record that proves you've finally arrived, not evidence that you've got your life in complete order. He's waiting for honesty, for you to stop pretending you have it all figured out, for you to admit that you're tired of carrying this weight that was never meant to be yours, for you to open up, even just a crack, and let Him in. And that opening, that simple gesture of trust, can happen tonight. Right before you sleep on this day that carries such special grace, right when that feeling starts to creep in, when the voice starts its familiar whisper that you're not enough, you can do something about it. You can make a choice. You can refuse to let that lie share your pillow one more night. You can say no to the voice that's been tormenting you. It doesn't have to be complicated or perfect. You don't need special words or eloquent prayers that sound impressive. You just need to be real, to say what's true, to acknowledge that this burden was never yours to carry in the first place, and you're done trying to carry it. And in the quiet of your room, with nobody watching, nobody judging, just you and God in the darkness, you can let it go. You can whisper it if that feels right. You can think it in the silence of your heart. You can speak it out loud if you need to hear the words in the air. Something like this, in whatever words feel true for you. Lord, I don't need to be enough anymore. You are enough in me. I'm letting go of this weight right now. I'm releasing this voice that tells me I'm always failing. I'm opening up space for your grace to come in and do what only you can do. That's it. That's simple. No perfect formula required. No magical incantation that has to be said exactly right. Just honesty. Just surrender. Just trust that God can handle your weakness better than you can handle trying to be strong all the time. And when you do that, when you make that choice to open the door, something starts to shift. Not necessarily in your circumstances right away, not necessarily in the problems you're facing or the challenges ahead of you, but in you. In the deepest part of you where that weight has been sitting like a stone. Because God doesn't force His way in anywhere. He doesn't break down doors or push past your resistance. He waits for an invitation. He waits for you to realize that you can't do this alone and that you were never supposed to try. And the moment you acknowledge that truth, the moment you stop fighting to prove yourself and start resting in His love, that's when Mary steps in. That's when the mother who understands openness better than anyone, who lived it perfectly, comes close to you. And when Mary enters your heart, Jesus follows. They're inseparable. Where she is, He is. Always. And when Jesus enters the space you've opened, the whole atmosphere changes. The pressure that's been building starts to release. The anxiety that's been gripping your chest loosens its hold. The voice that's been tormenting you with accusations starts to fade into background noise that you can finally ignore. Not because you suddenly became perfect overnight, because you finally stopped trying to be something you were never meant to be. That's when the new year really begins. Not at midnight when the clock strikes 12 and everyone cheers and the fireworks explode, but when your heart opens, when grace finds space to land, when you stop running on empty and start receiving what's been offered all along, just waiting for you to be ready to receive it. The year starts from the inside out, from your heart outward into your life, from your trust outward into your actions, and everything that follows in the coming months flows from that moment of surrender, from that decision to finally let God be enough so you don't have to be. January 1st brings extraordinary grace, a grace meant to renew, to heal, to set you on a path you've been searching for without knowing exactly what you were looking for. But not if you let that feeling of inadequacy sleep beside you tonight. Not if you allow that voice of self-criticism to take up space where grace should be flowing freely. Not if you keep carrying a burden that was never meant for your shoulders. Tonight, let Mary silence that voice once and for all. Let her remind you of what's actually true beneath all the lies you've been believing. You are loved. Not because you earned it through perfect behavior. Not because you're flawless and never make mistakes. Not because you finally got everything right and proved yourself worthy. You're loved because God chose you. Before you understood your own worth, before you could do anything to deserve it, before you even knew you needed it, He chose you. And that choice isn't based on your performance. It's based on His nature. Padre Pio spent his entire life helping people understand this truth. He knew what it felt like to struggle, to suffer, to feel completely inadequate for the calling on his life. But he also knew something deeper that sustained him through every trial. He knew that God doesn't wait for us to become worthy before loving us. He makes us worthy through His love. And the moment we stop fighting against that truth, the moment we let it actually sink in and change how we see ourselves, everything shifts. The weight lifts, the door opens, the grace flows, and life begins to look different from the inside out. So as this special day unfolds, as heaven draws near in a way it only does on certain sacred moments throughout the year, don't miss it. Don't let a lie keep you from receiving what's being freely offered. Open your heart, even if it feels risky. Let go of the impossible standards, even if they've defined you for years. Release the self-criticism, even if it feels like the only thing keeping you accountable. Make space for something bigger than your struggle, something more powerful than your weakness, something more true than your worst thoughts about yourself. If these words have touched something deep inside you, if you feel that stirring, that means the Holy Spirit is at work, write "Thank you" in the comments. Your simple gesture of gratitude helps this message reach more hearts that desperately need to hear it tonight. We're not just random people watching videos. We're a community, a family bound together by faith and struggle and hope. And when one of us grows, when one of us opens up to grace, when one of us receives what God is offering, it strengthens all of us. Your breakthrough becomes encouragement for someone else's journey. And listen, we need your help to keep spreading this message to people who need hope. If this spoke to your heart, don't just watch and leave. Hit that like button right now. Share this video with someone who's struggling with that same feeling of never being enough. Send it to a friend who needs to hear that God's grace doesn't require perfection. And if you want to be part of this mission in a deeper way, if you want to walk this journey alongside us, consider becoming a member of this channel. Together, we're building something beautiful and lasting. A place where faith is real and struggles are acknowledged and grace is always available. A community where nobody has to pretend to be perfect and everyone can receive what they actually need. The new year is coming in just hours. But more importantly than what happens on the calendar, it wants to begin inside you, right where you are in this moment, right in the middle of your imperfection and struggle and doubt. Let it in. Let the grace flow. Let Mary open what that feeling has kept closed. Let this be the year that starts differently because you finally stopped trying to be enough and started trusting that God is enough in you. The door is open, the grace is waiting. All you have to do is receive it.